You're welcome once again to the Gifty O Conversations. Thank you for joining us every time. I am glad you are here. Today, we are going to have a very interesting conversation. A lot of people have been talking about this, especially people in the tech and engineering space, people in STEM. And it's all about remote work. And my guest today is an interesting person. I tried to convince him to let us know who he is and then show his face on camera, but he decided that no way. I practically begged him and he said no. Maybe sometime I would manage to convince him to show his face. And because I cannot mention his name as well, I'll call him Jay for now. Yes, so throughout this conversation, we'll be speaking with Jay, who has a lot of experience when it comes to remote work. Hi, Jay.
Hi, Gifty. How are you doing?
I'm good. It's good to have you here.
Good. Yeah.
It's sad we can't see your face. My viewers love to see the faces of the guests, but well, I'll just go with this since this is what you opted for. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah. I think we'll keep it like that for now. Maybe later. I don't know. Let's keep it like this for now.
But why don't you want to show your face? I mean, I have met you in person, and
Yes.
you look good, by the way. So I don't know why you want to show your face.
Well, I don't know. I think it's just a personal thing that I don't want to be how can I call it? To be just so public about it. Okay. And I think the fact that it's just one of those things.
Well, yeah. I'll just say that you have a phobia for cameras. That's what I would say.
Yes.
Yeah, but thank you for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you here. First off, you are in the tech space, right?
Yes, I am.
And you've done some remote jobs. What exactly were you doing? What were the roles?
Yeah, I think for the longest, I think all my remote jobs have been software engineering jobs or something related to software engineering. So I can say primarily like 90% of the roles or of the things I've done as a remote job, it's primarily software engineering.
Okay, so programming and all that, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, precisely.
So let me ask you this question I've been itching to ask everyone who has tried remote jobs. Have you tried in-office jobs as well? Software engineering in-office jobs as well?
Yes, I have. I actually started off as an in-office software engineer. Then by coincidence or by luck, I transitioned to a remote, which wasn't by design. It was just something that happened that I was hired in a company and all the software engineers were not in the country I was based in. And then, so I just asked whoever was in charge of operations in the country, like, do I really need to come to the office every day? And all my colleagues who I work with on a day-to-day basis, none is based in that office. They were all either in Europe and the US. So they were like, actually, you don't have to. You can come once a week. And that's how my first sort of remote job started off.
Oh, wow. So it wasn't actually a remote job. It was just because all the people you were working with were not in the country. So you had to collaborate with them online.
Yes. It wasn't, initially, So I got hooked into remote jobs like that,
I see. So which one is more stressful? In person or online for software engineering work?
I think it depends at which point of your career you are at. Because for me, initially, because that was like my second software engineering job. So I was still early in my career, and it happened that I was also very new in the language I was using back then. So so it was a bit stressful because I was new and I needed to, like people to ask questions, people to sort of lean on on your early days. So I would think from my experience, on your early days, it's harder when you are not in office. But as you learn and become more independent, it's definitely far, far, far much better when you are remote, because you have less reliance on other people and you can manage your time well. So I guess it's more, yeah, it depends with at what point of your career are you at. Yeah.
Yeah, I understand perfectly, because I was always wondering, if you are doing a programming job and it's online, and
Yeah.
when it comes to programming, you need a lot of help. It's not everything that you know. So instead
Yes.
of just having a colleague by you to ask a simple question, if it's remote, you now have to use Slack or some other communication.
Yes. Yes. And it actually gets a bit trickier when it's remote and the people you are working with are on a different time zone. That's
Yeah,
even worse
yeah,
because you'll find like maybe like the first 4 hours of the day, no one else is working, so you have no one else to ask questions.
yeah.
But as the day sort of transitions, then probably one or two colleagues like in Europe, because now I was in Kenya actually. So yeah, you sort of have now people in your time zone who are up. But yeah, it's a challenge there because now you have to rely on Slack. And on Slack, people can just decide to ignore you and you can't do anything.
Exactly. I know. I have had that
Yeah.
experience several times where you just send a question on Slack and no one gives you an answer for hours. Or they just say
Yes.
they mark their status as busy and you don't know what.
Yes.
That
Exactly.
can be
Yes.
really frustrating.
Yeah. Yeah. It can be frustrating, but I think once you sort of get more experience in whatever you are doing, it's actually now it's kind of table stand for lack of a better word, and it's bad because you also probably start doing the same things people are doing to you. To the newer
Yeah.
guys, you start ignoring because you're so focused on whatever you are doing, and you just wanna maybe you have maybe a target, an objective within a certain time, and you don't want. So the remote job gives you that ability to, because in the office, someone will just walk over to you and tap you on the shoulder and say, "Hey, I have a question." You can't like chase them away. But with Slack, you can mute Slack. You can be available when you want to be available, and yeah. But it also helps where some companies they have like structured sort of I remember like with time I've been in places where like like you have a team has a structured way of asking questions. So you have like a channel where people throw questions. So that way then it becomes uh easier sometimes because then you don't have to bug someone directly. But it also has sort of its drawbacks because then you're not pinging anyone directly. I mean, 10 people can see the question and still ignore it. So it
Yeah.
doesn't make it easier, but at least it makes it visible to everyone that, oh, I actually asked a question and I'm waiting for help. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So, would you advise someone who just finished the first degree or a master's degree, would you advise them to go straight for a remote job if there is an opportunity, or they should work with people first before they transition?
Yeah, it's actually it's tricky because um I think to be able to actually have a good experience, I think it's beneficial to work with people first because that way I mean working with someone like for a week, when you're like a junior developer, you learn a lot from like experienced people. And then also you get to see uh sort of like the actual way things are done because behind the screen it's very easy for you to miss a lot of details.
Mm-hmm.
You get to, because like in tech, there's a lot of imposter syndrome, and when you add imposter syndrome on top of you being locked up in your own space somewhere in a co-working space or in your house, it becomes imposter syndrome plus lack of help. It can be bad also.
Yeah.
But if you can manage it, again, I guess it depends from people to people, because some people are really good at just researching, and I guess you can do by that, but I guess you'll miss the element of where you collaborate and work with people.
Yeah.
However, you can still collaborate with people online, but it's much enjoyable when you do it in person, I think.
Right. So right now, do you have an actual remote job, or did you ever get an actual remote job that you applied for, remotely, interviewed remotely?
Yes, actually, it's interesting because after that job which I was telling you about, every other job I've actually done since then, it's been remote. I've actually had 2 jobs that I've done and transitioned from, and I never met anyone in person from those 2 companies.
Wow.
And that's in a span of like, that's actually after we graduated.
Mm-hmm.
And the job I took then for 2 years, I didn't meet anyone from that office in person. I did the interview remotely. I did, and I left and I was there for 2 years, and I transitioned to a new job. Never met anyone from that company as well physically, and I was there for 10 months, and I transitioned to a different job, which I'm at now. And even in this job, I think I've been in the office once, the day I went to pick my laptop.
Whoa, that's the only day you went to the office.
That's the only. Actually, I went to the office the first week. The day I went to pick my laptop, the day I met my manager, and that was it. I've never gone back. And
wow.
Yeah, so it's actually, it's very possible to do it. And yeah, once you get used to it, it's probably it's hard in the beginning. If you are the type of a person who needs a lot of people interaction on a day-to-day basis, to be very hard for you, because you'll always be indoors, and it's I actually also found out that it's a bit challenging, especially when you are in a new country where you don't know a lot of people, because then the office becomes the place where you meet people.
Yeah.
And now I moved to South Africa, and I don't know anyone here, and I spend most of the time working from home, so I don't get to meet people at work. So I have to sort of meet people outside work to meet people who are like from here, and at least feel like you are interacting with the environment. You're not just by yourself and your laptop.
Definitely. That must be hard. So we can talk about countries, right?
Yes.
Okay. So you are from Kenya, and
yes.
I met you in Rwanda, and now you are in SA.
Yes, I'm in Cape Town.
Are those the only 3 countries you've been to and had work there?
Yes, as places where I've been stationed for a long time, yes. I think initially I've had like short-term sort of like work trips in Ethiopia, where on my first role. So I used to go there a lot. But those are primarily like the 4 countries I would say I have had work interactions at. Yeah.
Okay, and in those countries, were you working with international companies?
Yes, so they are all international companies, but they had like sort of some presence, or they were looking to have some presence in like for the first job in Rwanda, the company I think eventually after I left, opened an actual office, physical office in the country. But for the time that I was there, they didn't have an actual office. And that was like one of the things I was trying to help them do is sort of like see if there's talent to hire, also at the same time build products and also understand the market. So they are like my current role, the company, I mean, it's an international company. They have a physical office here, but since working from home is an option, so and you work with people in international sort of like people are distributed all over the place, so you don't necessarily have to. So yeah, so we can say they're international companies, but with presence in many places.
Okay, so you were paid in dollars or pounds or?
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, so it's mostly dollars, and most companies prefer to pay in dollars. I think for budgeting and sort of uniformity and just ease of moving money around in different countries. But also some companies also get a bit tricky and sneaky, and they want to pay you in local currency. Yeah, which is also something that's the money thing is
why are you saying that if a company wants to pay you in local currency, you call that tricky? That's what you just said. Why?
Yes, it's tricky because you'll find that when you are, so the way companies operate, I found I've learned with time, it's very interesting. You'll find that even in some roles that I've interviewed in and not probably joined the companies, but you've gotten to the level where you've talked about salaries and taxes and things like that. You'll find that companies, most of the remote jobs you find, most times companies want to pay you and then you handle your taxes. So it will be a permanent job, but you'll be like a permanent contractor. You know, they have very funny contracts that give us the cost to the company. Figure out your taxes, figure out your medical expenses, figure out your insurances, figure out all those things, lump them into one thing, and tell us you want X amount of dollars or X amount of rounds of Kenya shillings. So initially, actually, when you look at it, it's actually beneficial in most cases to the employee, because but it also comes with a bit of planning on your side, because you can easily plan yourself and be more proactive in the way you go about things like insurance. Because a company, because if you can build a company, whatever you want to build them for insurance, because if they're willing to pay, then you get to save, because the cost of insurance in most like African countries it's not very high from what I've seen. But if they decide to give you that as a benefit, the cost they will like deduct from your salary, you might find it's way more like on a monthly basis than what you will end up paying for that. But then it also depends with how do taxes work in the country that you are in. So and then again, where are you getting paid? Because you know, sometimes you could be in Ghana and your money is being paid in an account in Kenya. So where are you paying your taxes?
Exactly.
Like there are all those tricks and intricacies. And also sometimes the company doesn't want to be liable for taxes and benefits and things like that. And you'll also find there are companies that don't actually directly pay you as them. So you'll find you're employed to company X and you have a contract with company X. But whenever your money is paid, it doesn't come from that company, it comes from a different company. So they have these entities that their work is to settle invoices.
Yeah.
So there'll never be like a trace from your account to their account. It's from your account to another company account that settles invoices, but you invoice them directly. So it takes a bit of learning all those tricks, and then you know now how to navigate that space.
Yeah, working remotely and then being paid in foreign currency sounds lucrative. It sounds lucrative, especially for people here
It is.
in Africa.
It is.
But if you are not careful, from what you are saying, you can land yourself in some big trouble, especially with taxes.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, you can, because you need to. So, for example, like in Kenya, as a consultant, you need to be able to you need to do your taxes and like show your expenses towards your consultancy. Yeah. And then in that case, you will pay 5% of your income as the tax. But then there's also additional tax that you might end up paying at the end of the year if it seems that your consultancy made a profit.
Yeah.
So you need to know how to do your expenses and all that. In Rwanda, I remember that one of the things that the government was really trying to fight was instances where people claim to be consultants, so that you end up paying 15% instead of paying like 33% as a permanent employee. And they say if you are working full-time for a company, you cannot be a consultant, you're an employee. So if you're not careful, you could end up when you're quoting like for your salary, you could end up being surprised by the government where you find you have to pay taxes and yeah. But then again, people have all these funny ways of avoiding to pay tax. And yeah, I mean, I've had people who their money is primarily on Wise and other like online wallets, and so yeah, it's really. But the question is, do you want to take the risk of also just having your money in an online wallet? I mean, how much money can you keep on TransferWise or on Western Union, and for how long? So yeah.
True. Wow, this is more complicated than I thought. It's more complicated than I thought. You know, I was thinking about remote work, get the company to pay you in dollars, and then just enjoy your dollars.
It's I mean, you can be lucky and it be like that, but it gets tricky when, and sometimes, especially like now, countries are very sort of vigilant on sort of on international transfers of USDs and things like that.
True.
I've actually worked for a company that was paying in crypto in USDC. And that was very interesting as well. Yes. And I actually kind of liked it because you get to get your money quicker and instantly, because the moment they do the transaction, the money is in your wallet. Yeah. And then now with USDC, it's not volatile because it's pegged on the dollar. So so you're basically just being paid in USDs, but online and digital. And then so you just need to sell. So like for my case, I just used to convert the money to USDTs. Then from USDT, I'll sell on Binance to then get Kenya shillings or get rands or get francs easily, and you have your money in minutes. Yeah. So
yeah, I remember. I remember that we were having a conversation on WhatsApp once, and you were talking about Binance and the Dash people. It also comes with its own disadvantages. That's a conversation for another day, though.
Yes, it does. Because there's always a risk with those things. So you need to be aware of who you're dealing with and things like that. Yeah, but I've actually seen a lot of legal entities like in the US that pay people in USDC, in stablecoin, and people and people accept the money, but I think all these things, there's a lot of motivation around the cost of transferring money internationally being very high.
Yeah.
So people need to find ways to cheaply transfer money.
Yeah.
And also, there's also a bit of both the companies and the people receiving the money wanting to transact without necessarily paying a lot of tax or yeah. Wow. So
wow, thanks for all that information, because that is not something I was thinking about when I thought about remote work at all. One more question before I let you go. If I want to get into remote work as a software engineer or a developer, where will I find this work? How do I find this work?
Yeah, so if especially you're looking for, let's say, like long-term consultancy roles, I mean, they just the common places like LinkedIn, there are so many internationally advertised jobs that are looking for that are remote friendly. So if you have the skills, those are like quick places you can apply for jobs and see. There are online recruiting firms. There's one famous one from Europe called Honeypot. There is Angel.co. I think now it's been rebranded to wellfound.com. I think it's part of AngelList. I think places like GitHub jobs, sometimes you find jobs on GitHub. And then there are also a lot of like Slack groups, Slack communities for different things, for specific. So for example, if you are, I don't know, if you are into a specific what for example, let's say, I don't know, if you are into TypeScript, so maybe if you join the TypeScript Slack group, I'm sure they have a jobs channel. If you are into Python, into Pandas, maybe you join the Pandas Slack community. I'm sure they have a jobs channel. So there's so many places that you, and then once your network starts growing, then you will always have like resources to tap onto, and sort of get, because they are many. And you see, the other interesting thing is transitioning to remote jobs, or like from one job to the other, is much easier because there is less paperwork involved. There is less onboarding processes. Most companies don't even give you like a laptop, so they tell you, we are sending you money to buy your own laptop. Then you decide how to work out that. So like literally, if you can say I'm available tomorrow, some people are ready to like onboard you the next day, because all they need to do is have a quick Zoom with you, onboard you to their tools and all that, and within a week you're up and running. Whereas if imagine if you're moving like from one city to the other, it will take like months before you settle down, before they find a place to live. So it's much faster to switch from a job in Spain to a job in Amsterdam within 3 days, and you're up and running and contributing to whatever they're doing.
Definitely. Wow, this has been very informative, Jay. Anytime I'm about to say Jay, I have to tell my brain that don't mention his real name.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I have to put in some effort to stop mentioning your name. But thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah. One more thing, actually. One more other thing about remote jobs that it's also key and maybe people need to know about is also how to negotiate for your leave days, or the days you take off, and to which countries you are eligible to take. Because sometimes you'll find yourself working in Uganda, and it's a holiday in your own country, or which holidays are you taking? So that's also something interesting that people should be. But this can be a longer conversation. There are a lot of things to discuss.
I think we need to bring you back sometime. It will all depend on the kind of questions we get on this video. I think there's so much that we couldn't talk about because of time. So we will definitely bring you back to talk about those things. You would probably have your own show. I wouldn't be asking you any questions. You just tell us what you think is important to consider when it comes to remote jobs.
We can see how to work about that.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for joining us, and it's been a pleasure and it's been very informative. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome. You're welcome, Gifty.
And hopefully next time I can get you to show your face.
Probably. We shall see how that goes.
All right. Thank you, Jay. Bye.
All right. Bye. Bye.
If you enjoyed this video, please hit the subscribe button, like the video, and click the notification bell to be notified of our next video. Until then, please make sure you have at least one good conversation this week.